Same thing. Got airspace now. Lean forward. Now drop into your... Don't lean back when you do it. Just drop. Now shift your weight forward like you're doing rowing exercise. Right there. You got a lot more stable here. A lot more. Really watch that. This is... Guys, this is, just so you know, this thing leaning back, there's two reasons for it that I can see. Okay? One of which is psychological from the standpoint of, on some level, people understand that going into this space is dangerous. Okay? So you'll see this, especially with sword. It's like the Yojimbo. If you've ever seen the movie, it's like they're supposed to be in the sword fight, but nobody really wants to be there. So the sword goes out here, and they try and stay back here. It's a little like that. I'm presenting, but this makes me feel like I have a little more distance, okay? You got to get rid of that, because you've just got to be willing to be right here. You know, it's like, for me to do anything, I have to be where he could hit me, okay? You just have to accept that, whether it's with the weapons or whatever. The other thing that I've noticed, I have a couple of people, Arrow, you know, I have a couple of people in my dojo who are total eggheads. I mean, a couple of the smartest people that I've ever met. And damned if every time they really get into it, they go up in their heads. Okay? So they'll be fine, and then every time they meet, they do this. Now, I don't know if it's just coincidental or not, but it's a pattern I've noticed with people who rely on their brains a lot. Okay? That their brains make them... That's the place in their lives where they really feel safe and competent. So they're up here. And what you got to do is get down in here into those, what the Victorians would call the nether regions, those unmentionable places that they didn't want to talk about. Get down here in your belly, and this is just a perception, okay? This is taking stuff in and processing it. In Oriental culture, they don't even consider this to be where the site of the mind. This is just a processor. The character for mind is the heart. So your site of consciousness is actually here. Okay? This is just this processor for your sensory information. Okay? So calm that down and get down in here, and it changes things. Really starts to change things substantially. So when you run into people, if you're teaching class and stuff, and you run into people who are consistently weight back, watch it, because I think that in most cases it's because they're trying to feel safe while engaging. You know, like if you grab me, somehow or another this feels like I'm way back here. The problem is I am way back here, and if you walk through me, I don't have any platform. I have to be willing to be right here. I mean right here. Where if you throw that punch, you can't even reach me because I already took the space away from you. Okay, does that make sense? And I know we're talking about the energetics, but all of this stuff actually totally affects this communication at a distance. And so this is why beginners have such a terrible time, because they can't stand up straight, and then they go into class with Satomi Sensei, and Sensei's talking about, this stuff going on here. Well, of course they can't do it. They can't even stand up straight. Okay, so you got to fix all this stuff, and some of it's just attitude. That whole ability to look somebody, be really calm, and have it not, I don't care whether I'm here or whether I'm here. I don't care. And you can feel it as you walk towards each other. It's like the old experiments they used to do with the hemispheres of radioactive material. And they'd push them together and they'd start to glow. Of course, everybody who did that's dead because they zapped themselves, but they didn't understand that back in the days. They used to do it with screwdrivers and go, look! It's called tickling the dragon's tail, and you get the cool glow. You know, they did silly stuff like that. But that's what it's like in a martial interaction. If I have strong intention, you have strong intention, we get closer and closer and closer, a pressure builds up between us that starts to feel like it wants to go critical, okay? So, you know, you get people who, they can't project that way. You can walk right up, take their space away. Usually when I stand across from somebody, I can look at them and I know whether I can hit them or not before I go, because I'm already in there. I'm crawling around in your insides, and they're standing there thinking I'm coming to grab their wrist or something. Their energy field is completely collapsed. You can just walk up and take their space away. And this will be another theme for the whole weekend. I think the way to look at Aikido, don't look at structure and joints and locks and stuff like that. Aikido is really about trying, and this is certainly what entries are about, take the space away that they need to be in to complete their attack. If he wants to punch me, he's got to come, shift your weight forward, and extend. See, he's got to come to about here to get a focused punch. He's going to go to about the back of my head with that punch. So if he's standing back there, he's got to come all the way to there. For me to be safe, I just need to be there. Okay, throw the punch. He can't. This is a big deal. Right? This is fundamentally, you can see why it's so much harder to attack somebody than it is to defend. I don't have to go all the way out to where he is. I just need to be in this, I just need to own the space that he wants to be in to attack me. Even grabbing, you know. Yeah, if I stand here and let him come grab me, he's really strong. But if I'm actually already inside, see, he's already slightly jammed. If you project like we're talking about, when they come in to grab, they should always feel slightly jammed when they touch, because my energy's not here, my energy's in there. Does that make sense? So then when we touch, if I release, he's just moving. There's no effort to it. Like if you touch here, you feel how I'm already in there? I'm not dealing with this. I'm there. And then if I release when you're already there. I'm here. It takes no effort at all because I'm releasing the energy of how we came together. We'll be doing with this all weekend. But this totally impacts the whole idea of connecting before we touch. Okay? Okay, so let's actually start with this now. Okay, 'cause all of this stuff, we have a limited amount of time. This is stuff you can play with. You can go back and play with this. And there's some exercise, I'll just tell you about them. You can do this exercise here where we start on both sides of the mat, just like this. And we mutually look up, feel what that feels like, and just walk towards each other. Okay? Feels different. I mean, it definitely feels different as we get closer. It'll feel different to each person. Some people don't want people in their space. Okay? It was really interesting. I did this in Chetan's dojo in Redlands. And we did it that way. And I looked around the room and people all stopped at these different distances. There was a whole group of people who stopped right here. Wouldn't go closer than that. There were other people who walked right up and bumped into each other. I mean, they just went right up and bumped into each other. Then I had them do it backwards. And they walked backwards towards each other. And of course then there was a fan going, so they couldn't actually use hearing very well, because that's your backup. As soon as you can't see, you're going to try and hear them. But there was a fan with a lot of white noise going, so they couldn't do that. So the moment you couldn't hear them or see them, what'd you try and do? Feel them. You go to your intuition. You try and feel them. It's not something, the Systema guys train this. We don't train it very much, okay? But you definitely, as soon as if you were to close your eyes and not be able to hear them, you immediately try and get this, like, I'm going to feel where they are. It was fascinating because when people walked backwards, I looked around the room and everybody had stopped at the same distance as they stopped when it was forward. There were people who stopped 3 feet away, and there were people who bumped into each other. It was really interesting because I hadn't even expected that. Okay, so that's just sensitivity stuff. Getting to a point where you're starting to feel this stuff. You need to feel it because your brain tends to filter out anything it doesn't have a name for. Okay, so when we're talking about this energetic connection stuff, you'll get people who just go, "Oh, I don't feel it." Their brains don't know what to call it. It's just part of the background noise. I literally had a guy, we're talking about Ikkyo, and the difference between having my energy outside here and then shifting it in here. You see him move? So I did that, and his whole body went, whoop. I said, "Did you feel that?" He went, Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't feel it. His whole body moved. He clearly felt it. His brain filtered it out. So I said, look, it's not 50, this is what I was saying, it's not 50,000 volts. Just feel the change. That's all you need to do. You don't have to know what it is. You don't have to call it anything. It's not going to hit you over the head like a hammer. It's subtle. Just feel the change. I did it again, and then he went, oh, yeah. That's what we're trying to do with exercises like this, is actually just give your brain a framework so it knows what's going on, okay? So now what I want to do, we're going to get to the la-la stuff on this. Well, this is really cool, okay? No, we're going to skip the, okay? Bring your hand up, actually. We're going to slap. So what you're looking to do with an irimi, okay, slap, is get this. You see what I did? No. Watch again. Okay, slowly. Imagine that he's the hub of a wheel. Okay? You know, Aikido and the dynamic sphere, all the guys in the bubbles. Okay? Imagine that this is more like a bicycle wheel. So the rim is his reach. It's the ma'ai. That's his reach for his attack. And then there's lots of spokes that run to the center. When I'm doing a rimi, I'm going to the center. What I'm doing here with my hand is I'm simply changing which spoke I'm going in on. So I start in on this one, and he sees that, and when he commits to meet it, I change which spoke I'm going in on. I'm in there already. Actually, I'm slapping hands, but I'm actually mentally, I'm in there. And what I want to do is put my mind on his center and just change the physical movement. Try that, just so you can feel it. And then we're going to do it with our whole bodies, not just our hands. Be more energetic about your slapping. So, if you're doing that on my head, so there's your punch. Okay, you don't have to push. Just, okay? So, it's like, it's, when Sensei will do this, you can be going after him absolutely full speed. You've probably seen him walking, and the guy's going, and then he's just not there when the strike gets there. If you've ever had a chance to attack him, which I have many times, I'm absolutely sure I'm hitting him right up until I don't. That like my brain is going, I got him this time, little Jap. I got him, I've been trying for all these years to get him. And he's sitting there laughing at me, going, and then he does something bad to me. Yeah. But it's like, you don't perceive it, yeah. Okay? I have a very cool la-la way of explaining that, which you should never mention to John Masaurus because it'll make him ill.
It's very from time to time. That last time, I kind of felt some change just before it happened.
This isn't even, it's the movement is actually what Sensei calls lightning. It's falling. It never went.
Right.
There's not a stop. So if you're coming here, okay, little looser. You're sure you've got him right up until you miss.
Yeah. That's what it felt like.
Okay, so is anybody not able to do it with the hand? Okay, good. So now, okay, now this is not football, so don't straight arm the guy and shorten his vertebrae. Just tap me on the head. Okay, so you start down here, boom. Yeah, for more here. You're like really, Yeah, I mean, farther away. I'm not going to let you come up here and put this hand in my face. So what I mean is when I come in, hold your hands down farther. And when I come in, boom. Good. It's more like a punch. It's snapping out. But you don't have to close the fist. Just tap. Do not stick your fingers in the guy's eyes. This will not hurt them. This will. Okay? I've had people like, oh, I might hit him. So they pull it. And then they're poking you in the eye because they're trying to help you. Don't. Just, right on the head. Boom. Tap. Yeah. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is make that connection, and you start moving to the center, and when he throws that, just change the angle. Okay? No escape. You watch most people who do their irimi, they go off the line. They're out here. Okay? I am actually convinced that the way Aikido has been presented is wrong. When I started Aikido, it was presented to me as, this is the art where, the attack comes and you get off the line and lead the energy of the attack. I think it's a wrong way of looking at that. Okay? Satomi Sensei in his book, if you've seen Sensei's Aikido and the Harmony of Nature, there's two guys on a log bridge over a chasm. That is much more descriptive of how you should think about your Aikido. You can't go off the line. You go off the line, you're in the chasm. Okay? I got to own my space. A better attitude to have, just in terms of your spirit, is this is my house. You're coming into my house. I own the place. Okay? And that's what I was talking about, owning the space. Okay? So if you watch here, a linear attack, if it's shomen or a punch, anything that's linear, it's coming up the line, half of me, if I'm going to this side, half of me safe already. The only thing I need to be fully safe is to get this half of me to the same side of the line as the other half. So you'll notice that I don't need to move my whole body mass off the line. I need to rotate. Okay? And the shape of this rotation is the tomoe. Do you know what a tomoe is? No? The drips in the yin and yang. The drips are tomoe. Okay? And later I'll show you my dojo logo, which I have tattooed here. I have 3 of them, but they look like waves. But they're still that same shape. So if you look at the shape of the tomoe, that's our basic rotation. It can go from the large part of the drip out to the point, or it can go from the point to the large part of the drip. So a lot of our throws are from the point out to the large part of the drip. But if you look at my entry here, I'm the big part, and I'm going to the point. Okay? So he comes up with that punch, I'm here. And I don't care how fast he does it. Like, this is the other thing, is you have to know when the moment is. And you get people who, it's not the punch that takes their mind. It's the column of force in front of the punch. If you come in fast and hard, they're already doing that. Well, I don't have a problem till now. I don't care what's happening out here. I don't have a problem till that instant. Now, when he comes fast, that instant's a little faster. But there's still, I can pretty much look at somebody, and if they're at this distance and I know they have to move their body mass to get to me, I know when that instant is. So later on your entries, don't leave it up to him to decide, because then he can be tricky. See, if I move into that space, he has to make a move or back up. If he doesn't do anything, I'm in and I'm hitting him. Okay? I took the space away from him. So, yeah, you got to go. So right now, let's assume you're not going to back up. So when I move into your space, you have to make your move. Right. Exactly. So if I know when that is, if I know when the instant is, then there's no reaction time. This is very cool. That's why you don't wait for the other guy. If you're waiting for the other guy, especially if you're not yet so sensitive that you can start keying off on when you can feel him make the decision to attack, which the systemic guys are good at teaching. Okay? And we should be learning that too. We should be learning to be sensitive to that. But it takes exercises. Maybe sometime this weekend I have a sword exercise I use to develop that. Okay? But if I know when that instant is, then I know when my head doesn't need to be there. So it's like, there.
Mm-hmm.
Try it. So if you feel, it's like, even if we're going slow, I mean, slow. I don't care how fast you come. Yeah, make sure you're coming. We're not even going that fast right now, and I can still fool your perception.